Buenas tardes, fans del MMA. Aquí con ustedes su servidor Alvyn García para traducir esta entrevista a MMA Info Magazine. Tenemos a Chris Duncan, quien acaba de competir, ¿no?, la semana pasada y obtener su victoria en su debut de la UFC antes Morales. Este competidor obtuvo su contrato de UFC en un Dana White Contender Series. Oh, guys, just introduce yourself, Chris Duncan. No, is you having fun with the Spanish speaking? I guess.
I just feel, I just when I came into the conversation 2 seconds ago, I was like, oh, "Fuck, does this guy think I speak Spanish or something?" I was like, "Fuck." I was just running around in my head.
It's part of the game. Part of the game. Bueno, muchachos, estaba divirtiendo porque cuando entró a la entrevista estábamos hablando en español y pensó que estaba en el string equivocado. But we are in the right interview. Now, we have Chris
Perfect.
Duncan. Oh, you are 11-1 is your current record.
Yep. 10-1. 10-1.
10-1. 10-1. Perfect. Can you let us know how did you find MMA? How you start MMA?
I started MMA in 2014 after my mum passed away. I changed my jobs just to make sure that I was following something that I wanted to do rather than doing something because I had to. Because life's super short. So after my mum passed, I really wanted to do something that I enjoyed rather than obviously working the 9 to 5 job.
I understand. I'm sorry, about your mother. No, at least you're making the best out of it.
Yeah,
Just
for
I
sure.
know, let them know to your Hispanic, fans what you just said. Bueno, la pregunta que le hicimos a Duncan, básicamente es cómo él se encontró con el MMA, cómo fueron sus inicios, el cual él responde que inició en el 2014. Su madre lastimosamente no murió, no está con nosotros. Y él en ese momento decidió hacer algo y buscar algo que lo llene de pasión, que sea importante para él. No quería tener un trabajo regular de 9 a 5, quería cumplir su sueño. All right. Thank you, for your patience in that. Now, we do see here, looking at your record, that you have an extended or a vast experience in amateur fighting. So around 11 fights you had in amateur,
Yeah.
and it's something that you don't see often. Like, what made you take that route, last that long time in amateur before moving to professional?
My training partner Robert Whiteford was already in the UFC when I met him, and I had 3 fights as an amateur, and he told me to try and gain as much experience as I can before I go professional, because once you go professional, there's no turning back, and your professional record counts. So I tried to get as much experience as I could in the amateur scene before I moved on to becoming professional. And obviously, with the record that I do have in professional, obviously translates very well over from my amateur career as well.
Very well, thank you. Muy bien, muchachos. Básicamente le preguntamos a él que tiene una gran experiencia en lo que son peleas amateur, peleas no profesionales. Tuvo 11 peleas. Le preguntamos por qué tuvo este tiempo, duró tanto tiempo peleando de manera no profesional y por qué tomó tanto para hacer el cambio a profesional. Básicamente dijo que uno de sus compañeros, Robert Winfred, ya estaba en la UFC y le indicó, le dio como consejo que obtenga la mayor experiencia que él pueda antes de hacer el cambio. Una vez te haces profesional, no hay vuelta atrás y tu récord sí cuenta. Por eso decidió extender su tiempo en amateur antes de hacer el cambio. Look at that confused face, huh?
No, I was just listening.
Now, here, you get your first shot on the Dana White Contender Series. It doesn't go as planned. What changed? What changes you had to do physically, training, mentally, to be able to get the streak and get your shot again?
Well, I don't know if you know, in the first Contender Series fight, my opponent had pulled out on the Monday when we weighed in. So Dana White and Sean Shelby told me to prepare to make weight again for Friday, to make Saturday's UFC fight night. Unfortunately, that didn't happen, so I didn't get signed to the UFC. But then 10 days later, I got another shot in the Contender Series. So throughout the kind of 3 to 4 weeks of me being in Vegas the first time, I cut weight 3 times to try and get my shot in the Contender Series, and that was a massive part in why I lost in the lead up to my first Contender Series bout.
That was definitely a difficult time if you had to go away 3 times.
Yeah, it wasn't good. It's definitely very difficult.
No, definitely. Muy bien, muchachos. Básicamente, él nos explica que para su primera pelea en el Dana White Contender Series, su oponente retiró, se salió de la pelea y Dana White le informó que iba a pelear ese sábado en un Fight Night. Eso tampoco sucedió. Él duró unas 3 o 4 semanas ahí en Las Vegas y tuvo que cortar peso 3 veces esperando que le dieran la oportunidad. Y por eso cuando fue al segundo Dana White Contender Series estaba fuera de forma, resultó difícil porque había cortado peso 3 veces antes de esa pelea. Very well, Duncan. Now, you made your debut. No, you passed that. No, fight now. You made your debut at a pay-per-view event, as it is no UFC 286. Did that put any pressure on you? How that feel? What it means to you?
Yeah, there was a lot of pressure because throughout the Contender Series, there was a film crew followed me and made a small documentary on myself and my family and everything that goes with training. So with all this, the cameras followed me. There was pressure to go to different states and do different interviews. And obviously, when I arrived in London, the film crew was following me. And obviously, you've seen that the UFC do embedded. It pretty much felt like it was my own embedded. And then obviously, being on a card, I was actually, for my debut, I was very high up the card. And also, I was a pay per view event. So, 20,000 people in my hometown, London. So there certainly was a lot of pressure, but there was also a lot of pressure on myself to win this fight because I've only just recently been able to now focus on MMA itself because I was still working full time as well as fighting professionally. So there was a lot of pressure from lots of different areas in the lead up to this fight, but for sure, I think I managed to deal with it very well. I felt the best I ever did in the cage. I felt very focused, very in tune with the moment. So I'm a little bit disappointed in my performance itself, but as I say, there was a lot of pressure on my debut.
Understood. A lot of pressure, but better the reward, ¿no?
Yeah, for sure.
Muy bien, muchachos. Le acabamos de preguntar cómo se sintió que su debut haya sido en un pay-per-view con una cartelera tan cargada como la fue el UFC 286. Él nos diga que fue mucha la presión, ya que al ser un pay-per-view y estar un poco alto en la cartelera, no siendo las preliminares, no las early prelims, tenía el crew de la cámara, los camarógrafos todo el tiempo con él, haciéndole documental, haciendo preguntas a su familia, filmando a su familia. Es algo que él no había sentido antes. Tuvo mucha presión estando frente a más de 20,000 personas y en su ciudad. Igual dice que la presión más grande es porque todavía él estaba trabajando, tenía un trabajo regular de 9 a 5, no estaba 100% enfocado a las MMA como está ahora. All right, Chris. Now that you mentioned that, right? Now this perfectly lines up with the question. You are a, from we can see, like striker, a finisher, natural finisher. We can see it, and against Morales, no, we see like a different way of approach where you started using wrestling. Is that was that part of the strategy going into the fight, or it just happened mid-fight?
No, certainly this was the strategy. I don't know if you watched the fight, but obviously I was kicking Morales's legs, not so much to land the leg kicks as such, but obviously to be able to check a kick, you need to bring your feet a little bit closer together to distribute the balance between. So what that done is it brought his legs together, and then obviously when I pressed him close to the cage, it was easier for me to do the takedown. We had watched some footage of Morales prior to the fight and seen that his ground game was his worst attribute, and his best attribute was counter striking. So I wanted the first round to make him think that I was only going to strike, and then second and third round take him down and control him. I'm a little bit disappointed that I didn't get the finish, but I think that was to do with the nerves. I didn't improve my position in certain areas, but that's part of the learning curve, and it's my debut, so I'm still happy I got the win, and I'm even more happy now I got paid yesterday, so the money's in the bank.
Nice, nice. I'm glad that check clear already.
Yeah.
So it pretty much was like sort of like strategy making thing. It was gonna just bang and bang and then eventually work towards the wrestling.
Yeah, for sure, because we knew that his grappling was definitely his weakest point.
Perfect, thank you. Muy bien, muchachos. Acabamos de preguntar a Chris que él es un peleador que le gusta el golpeo, le gusta el intercambio, es un finalizador como lo conocemos, pero contra Morales vimos que utilizó la lucha. Le preguntamos si eso era parte de su estrategia o fue algo que surgió en medio de la pelea. Dice que fue su estrategia al principio, golpear, hacer creer a Morales que iba a intercambiar, para luego con los ataques confundirlo y llevarlo al suelo. Dice que vio mucho footage, mucho video de Morales, identificaron que el suelo, o la lucha, lo que es el ground game, es su peor atributo y su mejor atributo es pelear desde el counter. Por eso evitó que fuera una pelea de pie, intercambiando. Dijo que está decepcionado de que no obtuvo una finalización, pero tenía muchos nervios y fue su debut y está muy contento con el resultado. All right, now it is the opinion is that it was a very close fight. When you were standing there, with the ref about to have the decision call, do you had any doubts? Were you sure that you won the found? What happened at that moment?
No, I definitely knew I'd won. If you watch the fight, the only good shot that Morales landed on me is when he hit me at the end of the first round, which obviously in the judges' eyes, they can see that I was obviously rocked a little bit, but I was very aware of what was happening in the situation. One of the judges scored at 30-27, but if you look back at the card, that judge actually ruined a couple of fights, and is obviously getting a little bit of backlash due to the 30-27 and all the rest of the fights on the night. But clearly I won 2 rounds, if anything. I was clearly winning round 1 until obviously he had a good ending to the first. That maybe sneaked him the first, but I definitely won round 2 and round 3. So there was absolutely no doubt in my mind that I won the fight.
Muy bien, muchachos. Entonces le preguntamos a él que si al momento de la decisión tenía alguna duda del resultado, ya que la opinión es que fue una pelea muy cerrada. Él indica que no, que estaba seguro de que había ganado el combate, ya que seguro estaba que había ganado 2 rounds y que Morales tuvo su mejor golpe al final del primer round, donde él se vio visiblemente en daño, mareado, arroqueado, como quieran llamarle, pero pudo remontar, dominó la pelea y entendió que ya él era el ganador. Dice que hubo un juez que le dio la puntuación 30-27, creo que ese caso fue Morales, y ese juez tuvo varios errores más en la cartelera en general con malas puntuaciones. Now, have you watched your fight again? Have you rewatched your fight?
Yeah, thousands of times already.
Now, if you watch, when you watch, easily at your house, with tranquility, what do you think you would have done better?
I should have finished Omar, especially in the third round. I was playing position a little bit more to make sure I solidified the round. I should have took a little bit more chances. I should have tried to jump on a submission or even ground and pound a little bit more. So yeah, that's pretty much all. I felt my striking was okay. I should have maybe countered a little bit better after his counter, but as I say, this is my first fight in the UFC, and I'm happy to get it under my belt and move on to the next one.
Definitely. Muy bien, muchachos. Le preguntamos si él ha visto su pelea nuevamente, al cual nos contestó que sí. Le preguntamos, ahora que la ve tranquilamente, qué hubiera hecho diferente. Dice que se preocupó mucho en mantener las posiciones, que hubiera tomado más chances o buscar sumisiones, o tal vez lo que es el knockout para la victoria segura, que quería una finalización. Now, last thing for you, Chris, after this victory, do you have any fight lineup? Do you have any names you like to fight against with? Maybe to get yourself up in the ranks, have more notoriety. What would you to do? What comes to mind right now?
Absolutely nothing at the moment. I haven't had time to speak to my manager yet. I'm going to speak to him this week. He's going to phone me tomorrow. So, obviously, it is pointless asking for a name at the moment because I need to get myself a visa. Because obviously, the thing was, when I fight in London, there's only a certain amount of people that you can get over here to fight, and it's actually more beneficial for myself. But there's no point calling out a name until I get my visa because we want to make sure that I can get that name and without causing up a storm,
Perfect. And how about your medicals? Are you clear? Are you good? Nothing happened? You can fight soon if requested?
Yeah, so we have a mandatory 30-day suspension that everybody gets. This could also be turned over if I get any fight news soon. So I've only got a couple of bumps and scrapes, as you can see. Just a bump in my eye, and I've hurt my thumb, but I've only just hurt it through punching. So I'm on ready for the next fight, and I'll be speaking to my manager this week.
Perfect, thank you. Muy bien, muchachos, le preguntamos luego de esta victoria qué nombre, si tenía alguno en mente, para no tener más notoriedad, ligarse a los rankings. Él diga que ahora mismo no tiene sentido llamar ningún nombre porque él no tiene una visa. Entonces, luego de que él obtenga su visa, sí va a ver qué hay sobre la mesa y puede hacer los call-outs a los nombres porque ya que tendrían un resultado y se podrían otorgar y obtener la pelea. Él dice que está listo para una pelea. Ellos tienen una suspensión mandatoria de 30 días luego de la pelea, pero médicamente todo está bien. Solo tiene esos golpes en la cara que le ven y dice que se lastimó un poco el dedo pulgar y que va a hablar este fin de semana con su manager referente a lo que serían sus próximas peleas. Well, Chris, I think that's all in our end. We really appreciate you taking out of your time.
No problem.
Provided with this interview and answering these questions. Congratulations on the victory, one more time. We hope to see more of you and that finisher, the natural finisher. As I said, we can see it in action and you can get your highlights and get your name up there.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.